All right, Moshe, let's begin our podcast with little "I Walk the Line" hum by Johnny Cash.
Sure. Mm,
All right, now let's really start this.
yeah, sure.
Welcome to Within Zionism. I'm your co-host Ozzy Fine with your other co-host Moshe Schwartzberg. How are you today, Moshe?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. So let's begin with introducing ourselves.
Hi, my name is Moshe. I'm a 17-year-old, and about a few months ago, me and Ozzy decided to create this podcast so we can combat the different um, theories and anti-Semitic people out there.
Okay, so I'm Ozzy Fine. Spelled F-E-I-N. Fun fact, not F-I-N-E. I'm 18 years old. I grew up in New York, 5 towns, and then I made Aliyah to Israel with my family about almost 11 years ago. Wow. Okay, wow. Now I live in Beit Shemesh, and I love Israel. Zionism all the way. So yeah, like Moshe said, we had an idea to create a podcast to get our word out, to get the truth out, to really get people to understand what Zionism is, and to try to get the truth behind all the conspiracies and what I guess other people say, and try to get as many people to really believe in Zionism and Israel as a country, state.
Very well said.
Thank you.
Before we get to what we want to talk about in this episode, we want to just talk about like what we will be having in this podcast as a general.
Right. So in general, this podcast, again, like I said, and like what we said, the podcast is just going to be us talking about Zionism, talking about all the conspiracies, all what we'll call the other side. And I think you can all the listeners understand what the other side means. And it's no one specific, just anyone. We're not calling out names here. But yeah, we're just gonna just go with the flow, just discuss things, have try to bring in topics and really just get within within Zionism. I mean, I think the title can speak for itself.
So, as we said, today is Yom HaZikaron, which means tomorrow is Yom Ha'atzmaut, and we just want to talk about like why those 2 days are one right after another.
So yeah, so like you said, I mean, this is what I want to be the one to say this because it's really something that I love to say. I love these days. I know it sounds horrible to say because Yom HaZikaron. How can that be an amazing day? But I truly find it amazing. It's the fact that they put Yom HaZikaron right before Yom Ha'atzmaut is like awesome. Basically, what is Yom HaZikaron? Yom HaZikaron is a day to remember the fallen soldiers, remember the ones who fought and died for our country, right? And what's Yom Ha'atzmaut? It's the opposite in a way. It's after we already won. It's when Israel became the state. It's Israel. We won the war. So to have the days one after the other is the coolest thing for me. I spend Yom HaZikaron obviously like thinking about the fallen soldiers and all that, but it's literally because it gets me in the mindset and it makes you appreciate Yom Ha'atzmaut so much more because you spend today crying and sad and all those emotions towards the fallen soldiers, and then you have Yom Ha'atzmaut the next day, and it's an amazing thing going from this to that in like in a night, in a day. It's such an amazing thing.
Yeah, but some people would say that it's a terrible thing because all of the families who have fallen soldiers then have to, so to say, immediately switch from the terrible thing that they've lost, a family member, someone who either is a child or a husband or something, and then go from that extreme sadness to like creating the country that they've died for, that they fought to help create. It's a completely different world, like day and night. It's an insane thing to have to go from extreme sadness to extreme happiness in a matter of minutes.
So I definitely hear what you're saying, right? And I agree. Like it makes sense for the families who actually have, a family member or a friend or whoever it is, or even just an emotional person or a sensitive person who feels more than others, whatever it is. I understand that, but even for them, if they could really take that moment to really appreciate, it is a sad thing, obviously, but if you could appreciate, he did that, and now we have Israel as a state. It's the coolest thing. So I feel like if the families would really appreciate that, and like, look, the ones who died in war or whatever it is, I'm sure they don't want people and their family members and friends to say, oh no, and be all sad about it. They died in war. They died literally protecting our country. They died for us to win Israel as a state.
Yeah, I agree, but I would like also to mention that Yom HaZikaron is not just for the fallen soldiers, but it's also for the people who were murdered in terrorist attacks. Now, that's a different story,
Right.
because part of them were soldiers, but also part of them were just civilians. So they're less contributing to the war; they're more contributing to the feeling of the family. Because after all, us as a nation, we are always so very connected whenever something bad happens to us as a nation.
Yeah, everyone
So
hears
we
about it. Everyone
always
talks
this
about it.
day, yeah. So like this day, can also it also feels in a way that like it brings us all together into one big family. So then we can all celebrate like crazy the next day.
But again, it's if you really listen to what I'm saying, it's if you have that mindset, I think that like I'm saying that's why I think it's an amazing day. Okay, so this was our first episode. This was just a few minute feeling of what we're going to be discussing. Now, basically, we did this on Yom HaZikaron. We're recording now on Yom HaZikaron, and we're going to publish it or release it on Yom Ha'atzmaut. And we did this quickly, and we did this, just a quick little feeling of it because we wanted to release it on Yom Ha'atzmaut because we felt that that would be really cool. First Zionism episode on Yom Ha'atzmaut. I think the connection is pretty cool. Feel free to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We post updates on our podcast and anything that comes along.
Yeah, so that about wraps it up for today. Stay tuned for more episodes, and as I said, follow us. And just thank you for being with us up until here, and have a good day.